In May 1682, James, Duke of York and Albany, is a man in a hurry.
James had very recently been acknowledged as able to return to London after several years in exile in Edinburgh for being Catholic.
He's on his way back to Edinburgh to collect his wife, who is pregnant, and his daughter Anne, later Queen Anne, so that they can reside permanently in London. The Gloucester sets off with many nobles, many of James and Charles's courtiers, the most prominent people in the land.
They were in a very good mood. They were partying and probably drinking very heavily, perhaps excessively.
There were musicians on board, there was a flageolet player. These are famous musicians. They are smoking, they are drinking, they are eating the finest food. The atmosphere will have been the best party that you can imagine.
James wasn't necessarily concerned immediately with the course that the ship was taking. It was only on the evening of the 5th of May that he was summoned, because the Gloucester had reached the Norfolk sandbanks, and a big decision needed to be made on what course the ship was to take next.
I, John Berry, wish to set down the events that led to the tragedy of May the 6th, 1682 off the coast of Norfolk. The foundering of the Gloucester that morning has its origin in a meeting of the ship's command the night before, at 7 o'clock. 5 of us gathered, myself as ship's captain, the master, Mr. Holmes, our pilot, Mr. Ayres, and Mr. Gunman, captain of the Mary, and the Duke of York himself, fresh from his revelry.
Now, sirs, this had better be quick. I have left supper cooling.
Our apologies, Your Highness, but we have a grave navigational decision before us.
Yes, we move with tedious slowness. I would have hoped to make Scotland by Sunday night, yet here we are, Friday evening and barely out of Essex. Is Mr. Gunman with us?
I come alongside you, sir. I am here. Forgive my lateness.
It won't have escaped your notice that there is great contention in the realm, and every minute lost at court encourages our foes.
The wind is high, the sea's wild, and we are entering a realm of some danger.
Tush, man, are we in the high seas yet? Land is within spitting distance.
And therein lies the peril, sir. We navigated these notorious New Warp sands, but now we face these channels northeast of Yarmouth, between the Lehman and the Our, infamous for their shifting sands.
The risk of us grounding our ship and taking on water is very grave, sir.
I need solutions here, not idle ruminations. What is your solution?
That we tack further off, sir. Further out to sea. That we tack south-southeast and sidestep all danger.
That we return on our path? That we delay our royal aim?
Well, given that so much is at stake, the deeper waters ensure us a safe passage, sir.
The Duke flushed with rage, and we all fell still, with only the sounds of the merry flageolet to be heard.
I see our pilot keeps his counsel. Speak your mind, Mr. Ayres.
Your Highness, I know the sands well. How they shift, how they perplex.
Well, are you with your fellows here?
There is a route further in, towards land, that is as sure and will slow us less. Here, sir. It runs clean between the shoals and the shore, and is known as the Collier's Road.
It is taken by small craft, merchantmen and tugboats.
It can be taken by all those with acumen and local insight.
No one doubts your acumen, Mr. Ayres, but in these seas, the margin for error is high.
If the watch is keen and the ship's pilot trusted, I think not.
Your Highness, I'll not risk my crew for this man's self-regard.
Gentlemen, I did not assemble you to see you spar like roaring boys. Well, I have heard your thoughts.
Sir, we would be most grateful if caution were your watchword.
Caution for yourself or the realm. Damn it! Is the truth not to be found between your extremes? Our current course takes us neither too far into land, nor too far out to sea. Let us maintain that course. Let us tack southeast for now, and at a later hour, we will consider Mr. Ayres' proposal.
Now is the time to take my course, not later, Your Highness.
And a mere short tack to the south will do us no good.
Either we head out to sea or we hit danger.
I am proposing a middle way between your quarrels.
Sometimes the middle way is the one of greatest peril.
Do you dare to question my judgment, sirs?
Oh,
no,
sire.
Your
Not
Highness.
at all.
I am relieved to hear it. I do not expect sedition on the king's vessel, I must say. Yes, tack southeast now, review in an hour. I see my decision pleases no one. Well, God will be our judge. I will back to my supper. Gentlemen, I trust in your obedience.
Your Highness.
Your Highness.
So, we acceded to the Duke's request. How could we brook his seniority? Mr. Gunman cast off, muttering many an oath. At 9:30, Mr. Ayres urged for his colliers rowed again, only to be disregarded again by the Duke, who at 10 of the clock demanded we adopt that course, which by then could only yield our doom. I must lay some blame at Ayres' door for prompting the Duke to take any way other than the safest passage. But God will judge all present that night, that so many souls were lost as we struck those fatal sandbanks whilst asleep in our bunks.
No muster list survives for the ship, unfortunately. Chances are it probably went down with the ship itself. However, we believe that between 130 and 250 lives may have been lost in this tragedy, and they are a combination of both the crew and the passengers.
The story in the animation invites viewers to debate who was to blame. Because it's an heir presumptive that is shipwrecked and it could have had catastrophic political consequences. Of course, early modern Britain is absolutely determined to get to the bottom of what happened and why. 2 courts-martial are held in swift succession.
The pilot, James Ayres, was immediately convicted, and he was imprisoned for causing the wreck. He, of course, was meant to know these waters, and yet, in reality, he caused the ship to strike the sandbank.
But at that court-martial, Christopher Gunman, captain of the Mary yacht, sailing ahead of the Gloucester, so had the opportunity to warn it. Instead of firing a gun, he waves a jack flag. That is against naval orders.
He was put under a court-martial and also found guilty for having contributed to the wreck. Although at the time no one wished to blame James, it did expose him as being perhaps a weak leader. After 1688 and the Glorious Revolution, when James was overthrown from power, many individuals who had originally been alongside him on the Gloucester actually moved to side with William of Orange instead.
The shifting sands fundamentally undermine the Gloucester, and just as those sands shift, so do the political sands of the 1680s, and James, by 1688, becomes a cropper.
Perhaps this event was actually really pivotal to changing perceptions about the Duke. If one was not able to control a ship, how would you control an entire country?